I think this is one of the first official times I have ever talked politics on this channel, so I'm going to tread lightly. But I got a little bit to say about this individual who I wish they could do like an emergency injunction and get his ass out of the office and stop allowing him to keep signing off money and pardons and all type of stuff. This actually does have kind of something to do with kids, which is why it really truly got my attention. I'm very into politics. I rarely talk about politics on my channel. But guess what, damn it? Today we are. So before we get into the details of talking about old Joe and some of the people that he pardoned, let me give you a big disclaimer, and then I'm going to give you another disclaimer after that. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I'm pulling this particular article from many different sources that I could have used, but I'm going to use foxnews.com. So thank you for this article. And just to let y'all know, hell no, I didn't vote for Joe. I would never vote for Joe. I didn't vote for his counterpart, the alleged vice president. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but to keep sending money overseas when we got people here in our country before these illegal immigrants, these illegal aliens came over here that needed help. And the reason I bring that up is because every year we go on this thing called a toy run here in Texas, a group of me and my people here. And we go deliver toys and food and donate to people in need. We go find families and we go support them and give them food and toys and support the kids and stuff for Christmas. Each and every year, this is what we do. And there was one place in particular, it was a couple that really stood out to me. One was a father who actually ended up adopting a bunch of kids, and shout out to him because these kids were going to end up lost in the system. He adopted them, and this man spends every penny of his money to try to support this family. And he was in tears when we came by to just support them and just think about them this one day, which really, really, truly touched my heart. So I was glad that we were able to make an impact. I wish that was something we could do, hell, if not nothing else, every month to not only help him and help others, but there was also another family that I saw, and we pulled up to this big little area and we came to deliver stuff, the same stuff, for another family of kids and moms that needed some stuff. And there were other people out there looking at us and just watching. And I was just like, damn, where's the help for all of these people at? You know where it's at? Going to Ukraine. You know where it's at? Going to people like this fool here who continue to keep selling out our kids, selling out our community, selling out our country, giving it away to illegal aliens, and not helping the people who are legal citizens, law-abiding people here in our country. That is a freaking insult to all of us, that's how they're spending our money. Spending FEMA money, spending our funds, our tax-paying dollars should not go to places that we don't authorize it to go, which is why we need people like this away from our government, out of politics, out of the whole process. Now that I've got that off my chest, as clearly y'all see, I'm pretty passionate about politics. This story actually discusses suicide to a small extent. We are discussing suicide in this story. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, please contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or 800-273-TALK or 8255. Now, a Pennsylvania mother took aim at President Biden after he commuted the prison sentence for a corrupt judge. This judge imposed sentences on juvenile children in exchange for millions of dollars in return. What do we call that at the AFC? They call it cash for kids. We call it hashtag babies for benefits, because benefits actually includes more than just money. But in this case, this man received $2 million cash to sell out people's kids. Sandy Fonzo's son, Edward Kenzakowski, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, This young man took his own life after having to spend 8 months in juvenile detention, and she joined Fox and Friends to reveal her message to the president. She quotes, Joe Biden came here and campaigned multiple times that he was Joe Scranton. He was one of us. He knew of our struggles and he cared about our community and our kids and families, and that's just absolutely not true, Fonzo told Steve Doocy on Monday. He is not one of us. Fonzo called for reform of the system related to presidential pardons and commutations. So that's what we're about to get into here. I just want to see his name removed because that's just another slap in the face, another injustice on top of all the grief that everybody in this community has already endured, she continued. And what has become, or what has come to be known as the Cash for Kids scandal, former Judge Michael Conahan shut down a county-run juvenile detention center and shared $2.8 million in illegal payments from the builder and co-owner of 2 for-profit lockups. Almost $3 million selling out people's kids. I want y'all to remember these two crusty, pale, dusty faces. Another judge, Mark, Mark Ciavarella was also involved in an illicit scheme, the effects of which are still felt today among victims and families. Ciavarella was ordered children as young as 8 years old to detention, many of them first-time offenders deemed delinquent for petty theft, jaywalking, truancy, smoking on school grounds, and other minor infractions. The judge often ordered youths he had found delinquent to be immediately shackled, handcuffed, and taken away without giving them a chance to put up a defense or even say goodbye to their families. Again, they're doing this to babies, to young people. In 2022, and you know what they would call this? Non-violent offenses. Isn't that something? Because the only way that you can get a presidential pardon is if you had non-violent offenses. But what they lock these children up for? Non-violent offenses. In 2022, both Conahan and Ciavarella were ordered to pay more than $200 million to nearly 300 people they victimized, although it's unlikely the now adult victims will see even a fraction of the damages award. The scandal is considered Pennsylvania's largest ever judicial corruption scheme, with the state Supreme Court throwing out some 4,000 juvenile convictions involving more than 2,300 kids after the scheme was uncovered. I want y'all to remember that lost ass face right there as well. Look at that face. How did y'all vote for that? I didn't vote for that. And damn right I voted for Trump. I didn't vote for this. It looked like they got that man's face strung up just to partially work somewhat normal and keep his eyes open. He looks like a robot. He don't even look like a real person. This man is beyond senile, in my opinion. Biden granted commutation to Conahan, who was jailed for more than 17 years after he was caught taking the kickbacks for sending juveniles to the for-profit detention facilities. Conahan, who's 72 years old, pled guilty in 2010 to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, but was released from prison to home confinement in 2020 because of COVID-19 health concerns, with 6 years left in his sentence. Why couldn't he have just done his other 6 years? If nothing else, he at least deserved that. I've been off the Democratic plantation for a long time. Just to let y'all know, I don't mess with the Democratic mentality, the Democratic Party or Democratic people, really, for the most part, for a long time. I was filled with every emotion, Fonzo, the mother said after she heard the news. She was hurt and defeat. Now I've had more time to process it, and it's more anger than anything. This is very deeply upsetting and personal. President Joe Biden's announcement last week was part of the largest single day act of clemency in modern history, in which he commuted jail sentences for nearly 1,500 people and granted 39 pardons. You think he knew or studied who any of these people were? Fonzo said after her son, who was involved in an underage drinking incident, was locked up for months and never recovered from it, he eventually ended up taking his own life. When my son did come out, it was 8 months at a time, Fonzo said. He was not the same person. He was pent up with anger and bitter for all the wrong. He would not accept any kind of counseling. He didn't want to look you in the eye. I can't even imagine, and I try not to think about what happened to him in that facility, but he never recovered from that. These judges just had control, she continued. They had all the power, and nobody could say anything, and nobody could step up. Other kids who fell victim to the kickback, quote unquote, kickback scheme have died since the lawsuit began in 2009, either by overdose or by taking their own lives. How many of y'all knew that this happened? He ruined my son's life. He ruined my life. He ruined multiple lives, the mother said. There are so many kids that have lost their lives, not just my son. One of the boys that was 8, Charlie, that's actually in the documentary with us and went around and spoke out against this. He has since lost he lost his life since. There are so many other kids that are struggling. Let me see. There are so many other kids that are struggling. Again, and I'm sorry that I'm struggling to read this, but nonetheless, let me give you guys the fair usage. I only got a couple news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Man, I wish we could just go ahead and put Joe out of office, and he needs to just stop doing stuff. Just take a vacation and just don't come back to office. Y'all do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. If you're interested in this story, please leave a comment in the comment section. If you have more information to add, the email is afcmatters@gmail.com. Here we go.
President Biden facing pushback from both sides after commuting the sentence of a former Pennsylvania judge, Michael Conahan, who was at the center of the Kids for Cash scandal and convicted of being paid off to lock up juveniles. The move upsetting many across the state, including Governor Josh Shapiro.
I do feel strongly that President Biden got it absolutely wrong. This was not only a black eye on the community, the Kids for Cash scandal, but it also affected families in really deep and profound and sad ways.
Pittsburgh-based columnist and Washington Examiner national political reporter Selena Zito joins us now. Selena, good morning to you. This was a particularly ugly scandal there in Pennsylvania. Now, President Biden, and I think the largest day of clemency he's ever granted 1,500 sentences commuted. This included this judge that was funneling juveniles to private prisons in exchange for kickback money. Why would Biden do this? I mean, you can hear Shapiro there asking basically the same question. Why?
Yeah, that was a profound scandal in our state. It cut across the whole state. It happened in Biden's backyard. He often liked to talk about how he was from Scranton and he had Scranton roots. And I just don't understand this decision. I mean, this had a devastating impact on families. There was one young man who was a wrestler, and anybody knows anything about Pennsylvania, wrestling is the top sport over football. And he was just got into this like minor drug paraphernalia charge, sent off to this private prison, which this judge received kickback kickbacks from, and he was never the same. He missed his senior year of high school, that sort of aspirational things that you want as a 17-year-old. And with a couple years, he committed suicide. I mean, this was devastating in our state, that he was let out as just vulgar. I can't think of a better word other than vulgar.
It just leaves that open question, though. What's going on? Like, why, Biden? Meanwhile, Selena, you wrote this. Recently, but the Trump administration says exactly right. So that you wrote this headline back in January. Trump's track to victory began when train derailed.
Yeah.
So, and now the Trump administration, incoming, at least Stephen Chung, who's the incoming communications coordinator, said 100%. This was the moment that really set the campaign on a trajectory to victory. The ripples from that day do not get enough attention. Talking about the train derailment in East Palestine, how this showed the difference in these two versions of leadership.
Joe Biden's announcement that he'd be pardoning his embattled son Hunter surprised many people, but he also commuted the sentence of a now former judge who received $2.8 million in kickbacks to jail 2,300 children, some as young as 8. Now one of the outraged moms is speaking out.
You ruined my life!
A mother is screaming at a corrupt judge who wrongly sentenced her teenage son to prison in the notorious Kids for Cash scandal, one of the worst in judicial history.
You remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's gone. He's shot himself in the heart.
Her son, who was sent to a for-profit prison in exchange for kickbacks, ended up killing himself.
My kid's not here. He's dead because of him.
Now Sandy Fonza is speaking to Inside Edition after President Biden commuted the sentence of another judge who was convicted for his role in the scandal 15 years ago.
And I just feel like it's political, politics as usual around here.
Sandy Fonza says she was stunned to learn about the commutation for disgraced Judge Michael Conahan, who is serving 17 years for taking $2.8 million in kickbacks, along with Judge Mark Ciavarella, payment for sending juveniles to prison.
One of the things that have gotten me through after my son passed was that they were in jail and paying for what they did. And now, Conahan is out walking and enjoying his Christmas with his family, which is something that I'll never be able to do again.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says he also believes the commutation was wrong.
I do feel strongly that President Biden got it absolutely wrong. Some children took their lives because of this. Families were torn apart as a result of these corrupt judges deciding they wanted to make a buck off a kid's back.
It breaks my heart for my son, especially at Christmas time, because I feel defeated and I just feel let down again.
The other former judge, Mark Ciavarella, was not granted clemency.
And you know what? I'm glad the other judge wasn't granted clemency, but the fact that this other person is just beyond sick. And I'm glad that that mother was able to speak her words and be heard and for them to actually hear it. But do they care? For money, they'll sell out anybody. And I just think that that's sad when you don't have a soul. And you can't have a soul. How can you be a parent, care about a family, your wife, when you're just that damn selfish? And just to me, when people are that disconnected, they need as much time in prison as possible. Or just go to an issue. These are the type of people that just like these other countries are sending us all of their people from prison. They're worst of the worst and floating them up in our country. We need to be sending our worst of the worst and sending them politicians over to their country and let them go be their presidents and aldermen and judges over there in these other countries. And make them feel what we feeling over here. But we definitely got to put America first, and we definitely got to be about fixing our communities and getting these corrupt people out of here. And y'all have got to start paying more attention about who y'all voting for. Stop just checking that box just because it make you feel good or you scared or whatever the case is, of the other side. But you really got to start paying attention to who's really, really about trying to make this country a greater place, okay? But again, there's no way he should have gotten off early. And this is just who he is. He doesn't have a soul. He doesn't have a heart. And he's a horrible, horrible person. And I hope to see I hope to see that he goes to hell very, very soon. But thank you guys so much. From my heart to yours, I love you all. AFC, leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this story. Cash for kids. They sold out our country, sold out our kids, and they don't give a damn. Let me know what you guys think, okay? Thank you.